on the computer. Good afternoon, everybody. Today, if there aren't any questions about the postcard assignment, I wanted to get started with lesson 9. Are there any questions about the postcard assignment? It will be due pretty soon. No? Okay, then the next assignment is, or lesson, I should say, not assignment, involves more sophisticated ways of compositing images. And so the only thing that I want to cover today on lesson 9 is how to create this little Frankenstein monster here. This is the start file, and they provide the title for us, and they provide the background image. And what we're doing is we're adding another tombstone or whatever it is, headstone down here, and adding some effects to it. And then in addition to that, we have an image of this couple that we will be adding. We'll do that on Wednesday. I just wanted to cover this part today, creating the monster. So to do that, what you want to do is you want to make sure that you open Bridge. And this is a really nice feature of Bridge that we're going to be using today. And I think this is probably the most useful part of the entire lesson. That up to this point, what we've had to do is that we've opened a file and then we've dragged all of these other files into it and opened them separately. Well, there is a feature inside Bridge that allows you or enables you to select all of these files in Bridge and then open them into a single file, but each one will be on its separate layer, and it will allow us to rearrange the layers and then create a more sophisticated composite of this guy that's going to become Frankenstein's monster. So if you look at the top here, it might be difficult for you to see, but inside lesson 9, okay, I have a working file, we have a start file, we have the backdrop, and there's a folder that they provide for the monster makeup, and that's what this folder is. So what I can do is I can click on the first file, hold down the Shift key, and select the last file. So now that they're all selected, and then I can go to the tools at the top, and I can go to Photoshop. And it's what I want to do here is it's about midway down. It's load files into Photoshop layers. So what it's going to do is it's going to take all of these files, create a new file, and insert each of the files into a separate layer. Really very nice. That's probably the most important part. It's currently busy with another task. Do you want to put it? Yes. So I don't know what the heck is going on in here. There we go. So it's adding all those files. And as you can see over to the right here, I'll move this over down here. All of these images, which were separate files, are now contained in one file, and each one is on its own layer. So now I simply have to rearrange them, resize them to fit this. The picture of this guy we have here is going to become the core of the monster, and we're just simply layering mask elements on top of him. And we're going to colorize him, and we'll see if I have time today to colorize him or not. I have to leave a little bit early today. So we'll get started with that. This is I think this is the most important part of the entire assignment right here. So now what I want to do is I want to take this fellow here and put him at the bottom of the stack. So to do that, I'm going to go ahead and you can click and drag to move it to the bottom. Oh, come on, come on. I didn't want to do that. Let me undo that. Let's do that. And then let's take the other one and move it on top. The hair should really be at the very top of everything. And we can turn off some of these layers. The bolts should be near the top. The forehead we're going to use pretty soon. So that should go, it should go down a little bit. We have the ear with the staples. We have the stitches, we have the nose, and we have the basic skin. So I'm going to turn everything off except for the layers that we need, the layer that we need. So what I want to do first is I want to take Franken here, and I'm going to move him down a little bit and reposition him and zoom out a little bit so we can see him a little bit better. Put him in place. Now what we want to do is we want to select the mask layer. So let me deselect. I don't know why that did that. Let's make sure that I select the mask layer, and I want to move it into position and then just simply resize it. And that's what we're doing with all of these layers. And when we're done, what I want to do, which isn't specified in the book, but what I would prefer to do is I want to collapse all the layers into a single layer, leaving all of these intact, and then drag that one into our start file so that we can proceed with the rest of the lesson. So let me zoom in a little bit. Actually, you can see the end file, and what I'm going to do instead now is I'm going to go to Window, and under Arrange, I'm just going to consolidate into tabs so I can enlarge this a little bit and you can see all of this a little bit better. We really don't need to look at that. So I just hit Command T. Whoops. I don't make sure that I have the layers selected. Command T. There we go. Now I need to shrink it. So I like resizing it from the center. So that I need to hold down the Option key and make sure that the proportions at the moment aren't changed. I'm going to hold down the Shift key as well, and then I'm going to shrink it down so it's about the right size. Now I can zoom in a bit more, and now is where I will probably really resize it considerably. Now what I need to do is I need to make sure that the eyes and the nose match up, and you'll notice that I did a pretty decent job here of getting them to fit right off the bat. I can probably shrink it just a little bit more. And then that's about it, okay? So the key part, making sure that all these parts fit properly, as I said, is to make sure that his key features, namely his eyes and his nose, match. If the mouth is off a little bit, then that's okay. And if I want to make it fit, I can zoom out a little bit, hit Command minus, and I can just stretch this up a little bit. Notice how I can change the proportions just a little bit. But his eyes and his nose match well. They match really well. So now that I have it in place, I can go ahead and I can hit Return, or I can hit the checkbox here and make sure that it fits. One more thing that I need to do to this layer, though, is that you'll notice that you can see a little bit of the skin, his skin around the eyes. Well, I want to take the layer for the mask, and I want to resize or reposition part of it so that it fits a little bit more snugly around his eyes. So to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to Filter, and I want to select Liquify. And that's going to open up a separate little window here, like so. Now I want to zoom in a little bit. So let me zoom in a little. I need to use the magnification tool. And I'm going to zoom in just a little bit so I can see the eyes a little bit better. And now what I want to do is I want to use this little pinch tool right here that allows us to take, and this is used an awful lot. On Wednesday, I'd like to show you what it's done in modeling and that sort of thing, you know, for high fashion models and things like that. It really change the proportions of women and men, namely women. But what I can do here is I can start with his left eye, and you can see that I can move this in a little bit so that it fits a little bit better. And here, and then from down here, move that up a little bit, move that in a little bit so that it's a little bit more snug around his eyes. Okay, when that one fits, then I can do the same with the other eye a little bit. I'm just, you know, have a reasonably, you know, modest size brush that I'm working with here. And just resizing it a bit so that it fits a little bit better. And if I need to come back in and tweak this a little bit more, I can. But for demonstration purposes, I think we're probably good to go. Okay, so now that I've used the warp, or the Liquify tool to resize just the area around his eyes to make it fit a little bit better. And I'm done with that. I can go ahead and I can click OK, and it will take me back to our name file. Now you can see that. Now watch when I undo. See how much bigger the eye sockets are? And when I redo, I should Shift Command Z. It shrinks it down a little bit. Now they fit a little bit better. So I'm good to go. So now I can, leaving that one on, let's go ahead and take the nose and let's turn that one on. And I'm going to zoom out a little bit so I can see where that is a little bit better. And again, with that layer selected, the nose, I'm going to move it in that into position and do the same thing. I'm just going to, you know, hit Command T and shrink it down a little bit, but I need to zoom in a little bit. Command T, Shift Option to shrink it down to size, move it into position, just so that it matches, kind of nice. And if I need to resize any of these or reposition them, I can always do that. They're on their own layers. You know, I can change, and I can change the proportions of this a little bit. I don't have to adhere to the strict proportions that were given to us. We can, you know, change the width, we can change the height to make it fit to our, you know, to what we prefer. So that looks pretty good. I'm satisfied with that. I'll click the little checkbox and I'm done with the nose. So now we'll turn on the neck stitches for that. Notice that it's considerably larger. We need to go ahead and shrink that down. So I'll move it into position, move it up a little bit. And again, I repeat, I do the same thing. Hit Command T. Have to zoom out just a little bit so I can see a little bit better what I'm doing. Shrink it down till that fits. Move it up just a little bit. Zoom back in a little bit so I can see what I'm doing. And again, if I need to, you know, make adjustments in the width, notice that that needs to be adjusted a little bit. That looks pretty good. Then I'm good to go. Everything looks pretty good now. So just, again, one layer at a time. Let's take the ear staples, turn that on. We'll zoom out a little bit. Move that into position, like so. Zoom back in a little bit. And we're going to, again, hit Command T to resize it just a little bit. And then reposition it. Get it into position here. That looks pretty good. A little bit smaller. Now I want to use the ear staples for the other side as well. So as I resize this and get it to fit, and I think that looks pretty good, I go ahead and I hit the checkbox. I want to take that layer and use it for the other side as well. So to do that, with that layer selected, the easiest way of duplicating it, which we've used before, is to hit Command J. That copies the layer. Now what I want to do to make it fit on the other side is if I move it over like so, I need to create a mirror image of that. So to do that, I go to Edit, and I select Transform. And then what I want to do is I want to flip the horizontal. Now, it should already be sized correctly based on what I had done just a moment ago. I can put it into position. And I'm set to go. Whoops. There we go. So now I have both of them ready to go. Now we want to go ahead and work on the next piece of his face. And that's the forehead that we can move into position like so. And again, hit Command T to resize it. I'm going to go ahead and hold down the Shift Option key to constrain the proportions for the moment. And if I need to readjust it, I can. Once I get going pretty, get it close, and I just zoom in. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to not worry about the proportions so much, but getting it to fit in the proper, scale, format. That's looking pretty decent here. And really, if I want to make the side pieces, be above that, I can always do that. I can always take this, now that I have the right size, and I can move it. And let's move it below the ear staples and see if that makes it for a better look. Okay. So as long as all parts of his face, that we're creating are visible, we're good to go. So the next one here, we're going to select the bolts, and they're up at the top here somewhere. There we go. So again, I need to move those into position and zoom in a little bit, hit Command T, and again, Option Shift so that they're, about the right size. Move them into position. They can be a little bit smaller. They don't need to be quite that big. Move it into place. And when we're happy with that, again, click the checkbox. That seems to work pretty well. And then the last one, the hair. So I'll move that into position here. Command T, Shift Option to resize it until it fits. And again, we can always play with the width and the height until they work for us. Now, get it to stretch and the fit to our liking. And that looks pretty good. Voila. So, compositing. We've taken our central image along with several other images, and by using Bridge, we were able to load all of them into a single file and have them retain their original properties, but be on separate layers. So now the next step, and that's where I will end today, since I said I have to leave early, is that what I want to do is I want to colorize this fellow. So again, if we look at the end piece here, you can see that his skin has been colorized. It has this kind of pea green or yellowish, greenish color to it. We want to colorize his skin. but we want to do it in a non-destructive way. So let me go back to our untitled file here. And let's see, I want to make sure that he is selected, his layer down here. And I don't want to work on that layer. I want to work on a layer separate from that, because if I mess up, I could always duplicate the layer, which wouldn't be a bad idea. That would be hit Command J. Turn off the background layer, since we really don't need it for the time being. But if I mess up, I like being able to retrace my steps without having to start over from scratch. So now what I'm going to do is I select this layer, and then on top of that, I'm going to create a blank layer. Now, to show you what the paint tool does. Now, if I select the paint tool here, and I'm going to go ahead and enlarge the brush a little bit. And I'm going to right click. I'm good. I don't want that there. I want to pick a color from his mask. So I brought up the color picker from here, and I'm just moving in over here like so. And you can see here's that pea green color. Now, if I come back in here and I paint, notice that it paints over everything. That's not what I want. I only want the area, you know, contained within him to be painted. So to do that, I need to select his layer. And if I move the cursor on top of that little thumbnail image of him, hold down the Command key and click, notice what it does. It brings up the marching ants surrounding him. So now when I paint, you'll notice it only paints inside him. But notice what it does. It works like house paint. It's actually painting over all of the detail of his skin. And I want to see the lights and darks that create the wrinkles within his fingers and the palms of his hands and that sort of thing. So what I need to do is I want to select that blank layer that I created and switch from normal to all the way down near the bottom and select color. And now when I paint on top of it, you'll notice a difference. It's applying color to the skin, but it's leaving all the lights and the darks contained within that area intact. Now, when I get around to the edge of his shirt, I want to be a little careful, but not too, I don't have to be too careful. And I can click in here and drag a little bit. If I need to make the brush a little smaller, I can, but again, I don't really see much of a change. I didn't know Frankenstein's monster had a wedding ring or a watch, but I guess he does in this particular exercise. And I can come over here and zoom in a little bit, and I can see that some of the flesh tone from his nose and his mouth are visible, and I can colorize that a little bit, maybe part of his ear, not everything. Okay, so that's hidden. So that's it. Not only have we combined elements now into a single file, but we've colorized him, as I said, by working on a separate layer this way and using the color mode. I've left the original file intact, and I haven't painted on top of it in the sense that, you know, you want to change the color of the wall in a room, but I've only applied color to the areas that I wanted. I've left the lights and darks within the wrinkles of his hand and that sort of thing intact. So let's click in here a little bit. There we go. So that's all done. But now what I want to do before I drag it over to my backdrop file and put it in position is that if I just have this file selected now to drag it over, it will only take that one layer. And I don't really need all of these layers in my final project. So I click on this layer of him, okay? And then I hold down the Shift key and I select the top layer. So all of those layers that we brought in here are selected. And I want to collapse them into one, but I want to leave all of the original layers that I've just created intact. If I hit Command E, notice that it flattens them all. That's what I don't want to do. What I do want to do instead is hit Shift, Option, Command, or Control on the PC and E. And what that does is it leaves all of these other layers intact. So I can always go back and modify them, you know, if I choose to do so. But now I have one layer at the very top that's combined, that has combined all of those elements. So now what I can do is I can use the Move tool like so. And as we've done before, I can click and drag and I move it on top of the backdrop file. And then I drag it back to the center and I release the mouse. And what it's done is it's brought it back in here. So now I've able to combine it. So this is probably the most efficient way to work, what I've shown you today. That's all I wanted to cover today. I'm only spending a half an hour unless you have questions for me. And then what we will do on Wednesday is that I will show you how to affect and bring in the other headstone and the characters that we have back here in our end file here. These two guys and these pieces in here. Okay. So that's it. Do you guys have, oh, let's see, there is a question here for somebody. Hold on here. Sandra, you have a question?
So I need bridge also.
Say that again?
I need bridge also.
Bridge should come with Photoshop. If it doesn't, go ahead and download it. Did you, how did you sign up, or how did you, how do you have access to Photoshop?
MacBook.
On your MacBook. Okay, but where did you purchase it?
MacBook?
It was already on there?
No, it wasn't on there. I have to download it.
Okay, yeah, go ahead and download it.
Okay.
Did you get it from collegebuys.org?
No, I got it from Best Buy.
Okay. This is a quick review for everybody, but did you purchase it for 6 months, a year? You mind me asking how much you paid?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I got it in 2017.
Okay, hold on one second here. So if I bring this in here, I don't want to see that. Let's go in here. If you either look at handouts, my handouts page, or weekly syllabi, over to the left, the recommended way of purchasing or subscribing to any of the Adobe products is to go to collegebuys.org. And when you click on that, it takes us to their website. Okay. And you'll notice the Adobe Creative Cloud. For $40, you get a 6-month subscription. For $80, you get a 1-year subscription. Now, it says, you know, since you're a student, you would shop now. If you were faculty or staff, or for colleges, you would click on those buttons. If I click on this one, there's other software that's available as well. Not only Adobe, but it is the best price that I've found for Adobe. And you select California, you're a student, and you click submit. And then here it says, make it with Adobe Cloud. And you can see from $40 to, oh my, yeah. If I click on that, or $80.
So
So
I
that's
should do it on College Buys, not the actual website. It's better on this one.
You went to Adobe's website?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, you know, if you're paying the same amount, then, you know, more power to you. Due to the, you know, to COVID-19, they may have you know, created a different price list right now, especially for students. But anyway, this is what we have done in the past. So if you discover later on that you've kind of overpaid, this would be another option. But you do need Bridge. Bridge is always a good thing to have. And normally it comes bundled with the rest of everything else.
Okay.
Okie doke. So that's getting you guys started with lesson 9. And we can, because we're kind of ahead of the game, we can go a little bit slower now with our lessons. I went fairly quickly with lessons 1 through 6 and 7. So that you could start working on some of the projects. And everybody should be working on the postcard project and probably getting close to finishing it up. The other thing that I will do for you, Sandra, is that I will take your email and I will send you an invitation to join us on a shared Google Drive folder. And that's where you will upload your lessons, and you will need to create a folder for yourself, or I can do that for you. But that's where you will upload your lessons when you've completed them, and when you completed the assignments, where you will upload those as well.
Okay.
And I want them uploaded as Photoshop files, not as JPEGs or things or anything, because I want to see all of your layers, to see your work in progress.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions that you guys have today?
No.
No, just 3 of you today. And that's it. Okay. Okay, well, if there aren't any questions, then you guys are free to leave. And I will see you, some of you, I will see some of you on Wednesday. I will make this available for you later today on my YouTube channel, if you want to review it. From last semester, that's already available on Canvas and YouTube as well. Okay. So I'm going to say goodbye for now, and I'll stop sharing, and I'll go ahead and I'll pause.